Hi, everybody. Welcome to the Certified Joint Venture Specialist online program. And let me just say, I've been doing the joint venture program now over the last probably, what are we now, 2018. Over the last sort of 6, 7 years, I've been training joint venture brokers, consultants, and deal makers all over the world. And this program is a culmination, really, of the three different programs that I've done over the last 6, 7 years. So it's very up to date. I'm also going to be including a lot of the new things that I'm doing, and it's going to be an amazing program. So I'm actually really excited to be with you over the next 8 weeks, and I thank you very much for for you guys signing up. You're going to learn a lot of really cool stuff. I'm going to be covering some really amazing material, and we're going to make it as interactive as possible also. So at the end of each class, we have a Q&A. So you're welcome to put your questions in during the class as I go along, or we can wait till the end when we have a Q&A. And I'll be talking more about the other aspects in terms of things for certification, how to access your recordings, and also how the actual group. If you're on the live program, then you've got access to mentoring, 12 months of mentoring in the private group. And I hope you've had a bit of time to look in there as well, because we've got some amazing case studies, interviews, resources, and also some really amazing results of brokers, consultants, and deal makers who are already in there. And I definitely say use that group on a regular basis and interact with everyone in the group, because we're all here to work together and help each other. So let's get started. So this is week one, Introduction to Joint Ventures. Welcome to the Certified Joint Venture Specialist online program. First of all, before we start, all rights to the recordings of this program are reserved by myself, Sohail, and the Joint Venture Group. The information provided on this program is for informational purposes only. There are no guarantees that the results you'll get are the same as the results obtained from the program creator. So let's move on. First of all, a bit about myself. If most of you probably already know who I am, and for those of you who don't, I'm one of the world's top experts on joint ventures. I've also achieved over $50 million using joint ventures, and it's probably more now considering the recent sale of my business in 2017. I'm also an international professional speaker. I haven't been on the speaking circuit for quite a while, but that is predominantly was the main area where I spent a lot of time teaching people how to be more fluent in joint ventures and strategic alliances. I'm also I still do a bit of consulting, but not as much as I used to, and we'll talk more about that. I was charging between 30K to 50K a day for strategic partnering consulting, and I'm going to be covering that in this program step by step, giving you all the resources and the tools for you to be able to do the same. Also, it's pretty amazing. Consulting has superseded brokering for me because it's just more lucrative, and I'll talk more about that in the next coming weeks. Why? I'm also the only Brit ever to be invited to speak about JVs in the US. There's a lot of influential marketers and experts in the US, but I've been blessed to have a good foothold in the US. US is my main market. That's where I do most of my business, and I'm going to be showing you exactly how I do that using certain tools and resources. I'm also the founder of the Joint Venture Group and the #1 best-selling author of Guerrilla Marketing and Joint Ventures with J. Cohen Levinson, which is a great opportunity for me. And that book has been responsible for millions and millions of dollars in consulting and brokering fees. And also, one of the things that really helped me sell my JV consulting training business for 8 figures back in August 2017. And we'll talk more about that, and I'll show you exactly some of the things, that really cool things you can do, creative things you can do using joint ventures. Okay, so here's what we're going to be covering over the next 8 weeks. So just a breakdown so you know exactly what it is you will be going through on this program. So this is week one, module one, introduction to joint ventures. So we're going to be discussing everything about joint ventures, how joint ventures actually work. I'm going to be talking about a few joint venture case studies. I'm going to tell you more about my background, joint ventures that I've done, basically to, #1, not only inspire you, but also get the creative juices going for the rest of the program, so you understand more about how joint ventures really work. Week 2, we're going to be covering joint venture brokering and consulting and deal making as well. So we're going to be covering the different facets of how joint venture brokering works and how the consulting side and the deal making side works as well. Week 3, we're going to be helping you build your expert credibility. This is one of the most important things in the marketplace that will allow you to charge a sort of fees that will make you 6 and 7 figures a year. Okay, so we'll be going through that, and I'll show you exactly what I've done, how I've done it, and how you can copy it at the same time. Then week 4, we get into the nitty gritty. Okay, week 4, we're going to be talking about how to actually get clients and deals. And on week 4, I'm going to be handing you a JV project to work on. One of my own clients, and one of the projects that a lot of brokers in the group have actually worked on as well. And that's up to you. If you want to work on that, you work on that. Otherwise, if you've got a deal you want to bring to the table, or you've got any ideas, week 4 will be the time to talk more about any prospective deals that you may have on the table, because I know quite a lot of you come to me and say, look, I've got this project, I've got that project. So week 4 is when we'll be starting implementation on working hands-on on a joint venture. And then week 5, we'll be going through how to find targeted JV partners. That's one of the things that you do when you have a client that you're working with. Week 6, we'll be looking at how to actually approach JV partners. There are different ways that I use, basically off the radar, okay, that not many people know about, and I'll be showing you exactly how to do that. Week 7, we'll be talking about different types of joint ventures, right? So now we're going to be going into, once you've got a client, once you're going out finding JV partners for them and approaching JV partners, what kind of JVs or joint ventures can you use with the client, okay? Or even for yourself. I mean, we've got a mixture of people on this program, which is made up of people who want to learn about how to do joint ventures to become a broker or consultant. And we've got a couple of people on this program who have their own businesses that want to learn how to do it for themselves and their business. So I'll be covering both sides of that. And then week 8, we'll be doing what I call the business audit questionnaire. This is the main component that we use for all our brokering and consulting. It's the main tool that will basically make you look like a hero in front of your clients, and it'll give you all the information you need. So, if you're thinking to yourself, well, you know what, I haven't got enough experience of doing this or working with businesses, or I don't think I'm qualified enough, or I don't have experience, the audit questionnaire will help you through that. Okay, so that's one of the reasons why it's there, because it allows anyone to go into an organization or work with clients using that questionnaire, and we'll talk more about that in terms of how it works, because it's really cool. Okay, we'll also have weekly assignments. This is important for certification because you'll be required to complete weekly assignments. And what I'll do is I'm going to be uploading them into the private Facebook group. So every week, check the Facebook group, and you'll have a post that will say, JV Specialist Program Week 1 or Module 1. So in that will be, I'll post the actual assignment, and then you can comment in that actual in that post. So anything to do with week 1. Any questions you have, any more questions you want to ask about the assignments, about the actual class, resources, you post it in the group, okay, in the Facebook group, because that helps everyone in the group also. You'll also get access to the recordings and slides and handouts, and these will be available in a private membership area, which you'll also get access to. At the end of today's class, I'll give you more details on how to register for that, so you can get added to the recordings and slides and handouts for the program. If you're watching the recordings of this and you just have access to the recordings and handouts, then at the end of this class, you'll see how you can basically get access to that. But I will also let you know beforehand how you can access the recordings and slides and handouts. Okay, so let's get started. First of all, an introduction to joint ventures. Okay, so people always ask me, okay, what is a joint venture? And this is the number one question I always get asked. So a joint venture, which is also known as a strategic alliance, okay, what it really is it's an arrangement of mutual benefit. right? So always remember that term, mutual benefit, okay? So that is one of the things you must remember when you're putting deals together or you're working with joint venture partners. It has to be an arrangement of mutual benefit, right? So it could be between two or more people or businesses who have complementary resources, okay? So I'll give you an example of how this works. Um, if you've got a luxury bathroom tile manufacturer and a luxury bathroom suite manufacturer. Now, the thing is, these both companies see each other as competitors, but they share complementary resources. And what the resource really is the same customer base. The customers that they share are customers who would buy either or of both products. But here's where you come against the problem. Okay, um, these two companies see each other as competitors, so it's very likely that they'll actually get together and collaborate because unless they have a knowledge or unless they brush up their knowledge on joint ventures and strategic alliances, most companies won't do that because they see each other as a threat or as competitors. So when you have more than two people in an arrangement like that, the third person is normally known as a broker or consultant, which is what we do, right? So it's our job to find the opportunities and align those opportunities for these companies, and from that we get paid, a success fee, and is also a retainer. When you've done more joint ventures, and we'll talk more about that in next week's session about how the fee structure works. But that's primarily how simple formula for how a joint venture and a strategic alliance actually works. But the resources can range from anything, right? So I'm going to talk to you more about in this program. I'm going to share some really, really cool things, and we're talking about products, services, and business assets, not only just a customer list. Okay, so people always think that a joint venture is a customer list, and we just put people together and we promote to each other's customers. It can go beyond that. I mean, you can look at assets that are lying around you every day that are empty. One of the examples would be warehouses that have gone out of business, but the actual asset still remains, and people utilize that asset and leverage that asset by approaching the owner and saying, look, let's do a JV together. We will basically want to run a car wash from that warehouse, but instead of paying you rent or a lease, we'll pay you a percentage of the sales we make, right? Because the building's sitting there empty doing nothing, but we can maximize that and make money from it, and at the same time we can share that success. So those are sort of deals that you can be putting together, and those are sort of joint ventures that are really sort of out the box, okay? And this works really, really well, and we'll go through it throughout the program, and I'll give you more examples of how that works. And according to one of my mentors, the marketing expert Jay Abraham, less than 5% of people know how to use joint ventures properly. So this is why it's very lucrative. See, I don't do programs for to do with joint ventures on a mass scale because I want to keep our community quite tight, and it's something that I want people to have the knowledge and skill in, but it's so lucrative that there's not many people doing it out there. Okay, people will talk about doing partnerships and doing strategic alliances, but there aren't many specialists out there. So we are very blessed to be in this position because there's no comparison. If you're competing against other marketing consultants, then there is no comparison because you are a specialist in this area and that's all you do. So sometimes it works in your favor because people can't compare you to another consultant when they're looking at proposals. So that's where it works really, really, really well. And most people don't know how to use joint ventures, so it's very, very lucrative, and it is very, very lucrative. So I want to ask you guys a question. I want to find out first of all, what do you think is a business's most valuable asset? So what I'd like guys to do, and we've got quite a lot of you on the class today, which is really cool. I want you to type in the chat box and tell me, what do you think is a business's most valuable asset? So if you can just type that in the chat box, and we'll be able to see what you guys think. Okay, so Timothy says customer base. Murray says list. Stuart says the relationship between the business and their customers. Good. Okay, so a lot of you, yeah, good. Okay, so a lot of you are talking about, first of all, the list, and we're also talking about sort of customer base, and we're also talking about the relationship. So this is quite important in itself to understand how this really works, because I'll tell you what it is. At the end of the day, the relationship between a business owner and the customers, that's the most valuable asset that can be leveraged. So, you've heard the term, the money is in the list. The money is actually in the relationship you have with your customers. Okay, that's where the money really is. So I'll give you an example. When a business is sold, this asset is valued on the balance sheet. So this gives the business a lot of value by having a good relationship with customers that basically buy, right? So here's an interesting statistic. It costs 6 times as much to sell to a new buyer, right? So lead acquisition costs, they say it costs you 6 times as much to acquire a new customer. Okay, so this is what we always do when we are talking to clients. We say, look, what are you guys spending right now on lead generation? What is your acquisition cost, right? But here's the thing: when you sell to the same customer again, now it's pure profit because you've covered your acquisition cost, and the second sale, third or fourth sale is pure profit. But here's the thing with joint ventures, right? It costs you nothing if you're using someone else's list. There's no upfront acquisition cost. So that's the most important thing that we always talk to with business owners and clients that we work with. That look, if we set up a JV for you, there is no lead gen cost really. At the end of the day, you're not paying for marketing or advertising. Okay, and most of the profit is yours because you've got no advertising costs. So one of the main things that we try and get through when we're talking about joint ventures with clients is what we'd like to do is eventually get your marketing and advertising costs or your lead gen costs right down to zero and have you only do joint ventures. So that is a really a good proposition for customers or for clients that you're working with by saying to them, look, my main aim is to get your marketing and advertising costs down as much as I can and replace that with joint ventures. Okay, joint lead generation via joint ventures, sales via joint ventures, and repeat sales to existing customers via joint ventures. And I'm going to cover all of these different areas in the next coming weeks. So basically, there's going to be no gaps. We're going to cover everything in terms of how to actually sell the solution and also how to implement the solution also. Okay, let's look at the benefits of using joint ventures. Okay, so joint ventures are great. They allow you to compensate the weak areas in your business without the nominal investment. So let's say, for example, you're a company who is a catch-22, right? Most companies say, look, I wish we could implement in a new sales system, or we could implement in a new a call center, but we can't because we need to we haven't got the money to be able to do that. But joint ventures allow you to leverage someone else's asset or resource to be able to do that, and you just give them a cut the sales, right? So that is really a good way to implement a joint venture. It also allows you to take advantage of a limited business skills and resources. So once you've done one joint venture and it works for one customer, guess what? Take the same joint venture and take it to another company and to another company and to another company. Okay, so just roll it over. It also allows you to boost your lead and client generation profits very quickly, and I'm going to take you through a couple of case studies of how that works. It's actually phenomenal that you can generate leads using joint ventures, which will cost you nothing up front. This is one of the most powerful things about using joint ventures, and also allows you great branding potential for free. I'm a classic example of that. Most of the stuff that I've done to get me where I am has been all through collaboration. I'm a big believer of collaboration and joint ventures, and it allows you to utilize and access someone else's brand and basically piggyback on the back of it, which primarily is what a joint venture really is. It also allows you to make money out of thin air, and we'll talk more about that. Show you some case studies and some a lot of students and a lot of certified brokers and consultants in the group are actually doing that, which is pretty cool. Which basically means no cost up front to them. It's costing us nothing, and we're not making a huge investment, but we're managing to leverage whatever we have around us to be able to make money doing joint ventures. Because what I want to do basically is just share with you my story and a couple of case studies to get this program kicked off and really hopefully inspire you also. So if most of you probably know him, some of you don't. In 2006, I built an 8-figure business using joint ventures, very successful online e-learning company, um, which I actually built that company using strategic alliances and joint ventures. And then in 2008, during the recession, I lost everything. I lost that business and was totally broke. I went from being a multi-millionaire to totally zero. And trust me, it sucked. But then in 2009, I was very fortunate. I set myself a challenge to make $1 million in 12 months, and I completed a 7-figure JV deal, which just took me 30 days to close. So I was very fortunate to get back on my feet very, very quickly. That's one of the beauty of joint ventures, okay? And I'm going to show you some more case studies of how I've done that around the world, right? With nothing up front, absolutely, yeah, and even moved to a new country with nothing, okay, but an idea, and utilize and leverage other people's resources to build 6 and 7-figure businesses, right? So I'm going to show you exactly how I've done that. So let's just go back first of all, and I'm going to do a brief overview of exactly how I got to where I am today. So I originally trained as an accountant. That's my background, and I worked in a big accountancy firm many many years ago, and I hated it. I didn't like working in an organization that was that controlling, and for me it was. I thought to myself, there must be a bigger world. There must be someone else that I could do, and I decided to leave that very secure job, and basically I set up my own business, and I found not a gap in the market. I found an opportunity to import. First of all, it started off as online training, internet computer training DVDs. Basically, that's what it was, in CDs. And I got a license deal with a company in the US, and I started importing courseware and training courseware into UK and Europe. And then I struck a deal with the company, and I signed a licensing deal that basically the investment for that only cost me $10,000, right? They wanted $100,000 for the license. I convinced them that I can make them more money, and I invested $10,000 for a license, brought that back into UK and Europe, and in that year, and I think that was the second year of that business, we did 7 figures. So I leveraged that, and the cost for it was $10,000, right? But now we were doing 7 figures on the back of it. So one of the things I always talk about is leverage. You've got to look at every single leverage point in your business and in your life, something that can be leveraged. Okay, so I'm a big fan of leverage. So I look to work smarter, not harder, because I always look at the leverage points and where I can leverage anything. So that was in 2000, and the business was set up in 2000, 2001, 2002. We were doing 7 figures. So I really took that business up to a level where by 2006, I got approached by another company who wanted to buy us out. They were 150 million IT group, and we did a deal, part cash, part equity, which obviously, like I always say, I would have done things differently, but I had business partners. So it was a part cash, part equity deal. I got equity in a 150 million IT group, sat on the board, and this is me in 2006. Was at the height of my success, and I sold a majority stake in that business. Now that business was interesting because it was an online training company. We were doing video-based training, which we were doing like 10 years ago. And I built that business strictly via joint ventures. We had a sales team, a telesales team, and the leads that we created for them was on the back of joint ventures. What we basically did was very, very simple. We had a 12 module and a 10 module computer training program, which was $5,000. And what we did was we gave away one module, which was worth, I think it was at that point, I think it was $50. No, $500. One module was $500, and we would give that one module away to online websites that had access to the customers that we were after. So, for example, resource sites, for example, membership sites, news sites that had access to customers who were interested in training. recruitment sites, for example. So we would give that module away for free in return for a lead. And the companies we partnered with, they would mail to the list, say, hey, guess what? We've just teamed up with this training company, and they're giving a module worth $500 away to this Microsoft course. So go and sign up, guys. And this is from us to say thank you. So we were getting literally hundreds of leads a day for people signing up to this program. The great thing was, because it was online, we could track exactly what people were doing. So on that module, if people were scoring 75, 80% on that one module, my telesales team would call them and say, "Wow, you've done really well. Let's consider you investing in the whole program. It's normally $5,000, but we'll give it to you for $3,000." So we were closing these sort of sales, $3,000 sales, $5,000 sales every day. And we built that business to 8 figures on the back of joint ventures. We didn't pay a single penny, whereas our competitors were paying for Google AdWords like thousands and thousands of dollars a day on Google AdWords. We were sneakily doing it pure stealth. People didn't know exactly what we were doing, but we were generating like hundreds of leads a day, which cost us nothing. That's how we were doing it. So we built this very successful business, sold a majority stake in 2006. And that was it. I cashed out of the business, and life was great. I moved into the big country mansion I always wanted. I got all the toys, Ferraris, Porsches. I had a Bentley as well, and life was great. So 2006 was really the height of my first sale of my business, and it was an amazing time. But then came the recession of 2008, and basically the business that had acquired my company, they had acquired other companies as well, which basically didn't make them money. And I got called in the office the day after, when the group company decided to liquidate their whole business, the whole group, and my company went down with it. The really unfortunate thing was, they had been around for 25 years. I never thought they would go bust overnight, basically. And me and some fellow directors had signed guarantees with the bank, which I regret to this day. And I said always stay away from anything to do with banks. And we were liable now for millions of dollars in debt that the company had got into. So I had to negotiate with the bank and liquidate all my assets. So I lost the cars, I lost the house, and I lost everything. So in 2008, which was really my exit strategy, in a space of a few months, I went from multimillionaire to totally broke. And it was quite a hard time for me. When you're used to a certain lifestyle and you still have bills to pay, it's very, very difficult to maintain anything because you don't have the cash. So, I was in a real desperate state, very close to bankruptcy, very, very close to bankruptcy. And, I moved back home to my mum's house where my old bedroom was still there, still the same. And I joke sometimes to people saying that my mum obviously knew I was going to come back home one day. So I was very grateful to have a roof over my head, but I went through a bout of depression, and it was a very difficult time for me. But I still remember that day because my mother told me that, look, you've got nothing. You might not have all the flashy cars and the big house and the bank account, but what you have is in your head. You've been successful once. I'm sure you can do it again. So at that time I was right on the floor, and that was it. There was no going lower than where I was, so I had to go in one direction, and that was up. So I really thought about what I could do to get back on my feet as quickly as possible, and it was staring me in the face. I had built a very successful 8-figure business with $1,000. I started that business with, and built it to 8 figures. And even though I lost it all, I built that on the back of strategic alliances and joint ventures, by making money out of thin air, basically. So I thought to myself, you know what, that's what I should be doing. And in 2009, I set myself a challenge and said, look, I've got to try and get back on my feet. I'm going to do a couple of really big deals, and I'll make $1 million by the end of the year. Because I did deals in my previous company, and we got that to 8 figures. So the numbers didn't really scare me, but I thought I need a minimum number to shoot for, to aim for. And look, here's the thing, guys. Before we go on, no one really becomes successful overnight. Okay, so I normally joke to people and say, look, it took me 15 years to become an overnight success. So don't expect, unless you pull off a really really big deal. Hats off to you. And some people have done it in the group. Very small amount of people have done it and pulled off big deals overnight, and they do happen. But always put an aim on yourself that if you want to make $1 million, do it in a space of 12 months, because it is possible. If you get good momentum on deals, and you have deals running, then it's possible. It's not difficult. You may find, and a couple of people in the group have done it. Some guys in the group have done $1 million deals, with just one deal. We've got 3 million here, 5 million here, 10 million here. So people have done it in the group. So it's not impossible, right? But just make an aim that to get a couple of deals done. You can either put yourself a target, say this is the monetary um, value of those deals you want, or you can just shoot and say, I think like Imi was saying to me the other day, that I would like to just do, I think he said a deal a week. I think it was. I don't think it was a deal a day, but a deal a week works. You could do a deal a day if you want. I mean, there's no reason why you can't. If you have if you have 30 joint venture partners and you find 30 joint venture partners in a month, and you're approaching one a day, don't forget it's a numbers game. You're not going to close one on one all the time. So you could do one a day if you wanted to, but I would say, one deal a week is fine, to do as a good target. So it's wholly possible. So in 2009, I was very fortunate that I spot an opportunity again. It's all about spotting opportunities, and after you've done this program, trust me, your trajectory in business is going to explode, and you're going to see much more opportunities and deals. I can give you so many examples, and Vanessa's one example. She came on my program, on my boot camp, I think last year or the year before, and she was lost. She sat in that room and she thought, my God, this is just way over my head. But then, I took some time, sat down with her, and we figured out a path for her. And I said, it's all about connections. Go out and talk to people, meet the right people, because people will have the resources, people will have the solutions. You just got to be the person that makes the connection for them. That's all you've got to do. You don't have to know everything about business. And now she's, in a position where she's doing deals. She recently got a deal where she was, I think, paid 10K or 20K for an introduction. So it's good. These things work. So be confident in that fact that there's people in the group that can help you also. So in 2009, I spotted an opportunity, and I saw a one-page ad for a book. Okay, that had sold over 400,000 copies, and the book was How to Use Your PC in 2 hours. The interesting thing for me is I used to run a online video training companies in using Microsoft and Cisco, so I knew about computer training. So I approached the company. I said, look, do you have a video version of the book? They said no. I said, well, I've got a video version of the book. Would you be interested in upselling that to your existing customers who bought the book? And they said yes, really interested in the idea. The thing is, I was just an idea. I didn't actually have the video. So I went to go and meet them. They were really interested. They wanted to do a deal. They asked me for the video. I didn't have it, so I had to go out and create it. So I went onto Elance, paid someone $500. They created a Camtasia course based on the book. I went in to see the company. They loved it. So I ended up doing a deal with the company. And the deal was basically that they would sell it for $29.95, and I would only take $7.50 as my cut. I think it was $19.95 or $29.95. I can't remember. It's such a long time ago. But my cut was $7.50 for each one that they sold. So I asked them, look, out of the 400,000 customers, how many of them do you think we can upsell to the video-based course from the book? They said, well, at least half of them will buy the video. So I thought, okay, cool, 200,000 customers, and for each one of them, I get a $7.50 cut. So that's $1.5 million, right? So my estimation for that deal was I would walk away with $1.5 million and deal done. So I closed that deal within 30 days. It took us over just over a year to complete the all the campaigns that we did with the company, and the results were phenomenal. 201,000 units is what we sold, and my cut was $7.50, so $1.5 million I walked away with a commission on that deal. The interesting thing was that company had just over 4.2 million customers, so there was access to doing many more deals with this company. From what I know, since the company's not around anymore, this was about 10 years ago. But see, those are sort of deals that you can do if you find the right resource. And I always say to people is that go for distribution first, because that's where the money is. That's where the opportunities are. Products are good, but if you can find someone that has a distribution channel that you can take control of and use, you can filter products through that all day long, and it's a cash machine. You can make money as much as you can. So it's pretty phenomenal. So that was basically how I got back on my feet. Okay, and I was very fortunate, and it took me the space of within a year, I was back on my feet, and the rest is history, as you know. But let's go through that, and I'll talk you through exactly how I closed that deal. So I found a list of 400,000 buyers and contacted the company with a proposal, right, without a product. So don't worry about the mechanisms of a deal. Just lock down one side of a deal, and then you can worry about the rest, okay? I ended up using elance.com to create a complimentary product, and that DVD cost me just $500, and I own the rights to that. So I introduced and I licensed that product to the list owner, and making $7.50 per unit sold without handling any fulfillment, because the deal was you do everything, I'll give you a license, and just give me $7.50 a cut on each one that you sell. And they did with the whole deal, they did just over 201,462 units, and I collected just over $1.5 million as my JV broker commission. So that's the deal that really kicked everything off. And you know, I've always been trying to find the same deal, and it's always about the distribution, and that's what I've done. Some of the deals I've done is distribution based, and that's one of the companies that I found that I eventually sold my business to, which I'll talk more about in the next couple of weeks. So a lot of people say to me, I'm a big fan of offline joint ventures, right? Joint ventures in the real world, but I've also done online JVs. You know, one of the things I used to do many years ago was I was the JV go-to guy for a lot of the gurus in the internet marketing industry. So I've been behind a lot of seven-figure launches. For example, here's a guy called Chris Farrell, a friend of mine. Everyone knows Mike Same. I put together the deal between these two. They launched affiliate.com, and we did just over $4 million on that launch. So I've been in the background a lot, helping out a lot of the gurus. And then obviously I left that industry many years ago and went back into the corporate sector, because that is where I was more comfortable and suitable with working with larger companies. So doing joint ventures is very lucrative. Okay, and as I'm going to teach you over these 8 weeks, I was paid $30,000 for a one-day JV consulting gig for a client in New York, and this is where it all started from. Okay, so this is the Mandarin Oriental in Central Park suite, which is between $5,000 and $10,000 a night, where I stayed when I did consulting for a client. Now, consulting is so lucrative; it's just unbelievable, and that's what I focused on over the last couple of years, and that's why I made the most amount of money for doing the less amount of work. Okay, so the different areas that I'll teach you and I'll take you through on this program, and then you just decide which area you guys want to focus on. So this is interesting how this started. I got a message on LinkedIn quite a few years ago from a business owner of a insurance business in New York, and he said, I watched one of your videos on YouTube about joint ventures for lead generation. Now, we are an insurance company based in New York. We spend about $100,000 a month on Google AdWords generating leads for the insurance industry. Will joint ventures work for us? So what I said to him, I said, look, it will work for you even better, because I will show you how to reduce that ad cost, be less reliant on Google AdWords, and be more reliant on joint ventures, which will cost you nothing up front. So and this is a really funny story, because the business owner then said, look, okay, what do you, and I said to the business owner that if you're interested in one of my programs, I'm doing a program over in Las Vegas. It's 10, 15K ahead. How many of you guys need to be trained? He said, well, I've got 3 guys that need to be trained. I said, well, it's 15K ahead. But if three of your guys come, I'll discount it to 30K. And it was a 3 day boot camp which I do in Las Vegas. He said to me, okay, look, how much if you came to us, what would you charge if you came to us for 1 day just to do the consulting and training? I said, okay, the same, 30K, right? So for me, really, I just threw that in the air and I said 30K, because that's what I quoted him for the three of his guys to come on my program over 3 days. He said, okay, that's fine. That sounds really good. What I'll do is I'll get some details over to you. Just give us your bank details for the wire transfer, and we'll get that sorted at the end of this week. And I was like, okay, sounds good. And then he said to me, most of our clients, when they come to New York, we put them up in the Mandarin Oriental. Is that okay with you? And I said, yes. And then he said to me, how many days would you like to stay there? One or two? And I was like, two. So it's like $5,000 to $10,000 a night for a suite in the Mandarin Oriental. So I was like, dude, two, let's do it. And it was quite hilarious because I thought this was during April, and I thought this must be an April fool's joke. Someone's fooling around me because I've never done a deal over a link. Now I do deals nowadays over Facebook Messenger and LinkedIn message, and now it's the norm. But a few years ago, it was like I've never had a client or closed a deal with a client just over a LinkedIn message. It's like I normally talk to them on the phone or face to face or whatever, and they ask me so many questions before they say, okay, that's fine if you can come along and show us this whatever. So I was checking my bank account every day thinking, is this for real? And on that Friday, lo and behold, $30,000 hit my bank account. I was like, wow, this is real. This is happening. So they paid for everything. They paid for my fees. They paid for my flights. They paid for the accommodation. And it was amazing. I spent 2 days in New York. It was amazing. The weather was great. And it was a very enjoyable experience. And then from that day, I decided that, you know what? I really like doing this. So that's where I started my JV consulting uh, charge at 30K a day and 50K for 2 days, right? Which is what I was doing, and it was very, very lucrative. And I'm going to take you through that, how that works and the dynamics behind it, and how I create a system that works like gangbusters. And you guys are going to get access to that same white label system for yourselves through the form of my white label or my best-selling book as a white label for you guys. I mean, that in itself is worth 10 grand on its own. Having access to a pretty much a ghostwritten book that you can send to clients with a letter that I paid 10 grand for to get me into corporate companies, and you'll get that template letter as well, which I actually paid 10 grand for. So you're getting like 20 grand's worth of stuff already, much more than what most of you paid for this program, which is really, really good. So that's how it all started, joint venture consulting, and I haven't looked back from that day. Okay, so again, joint ventures are very lucrative. I was in Paris a few years ago with my then fiance, and we were we were shopping around in Paris, and I had a deal that I was closing that week, and I said, look, if I close this deal, I'll get you a gift. Okay, so deal got closed, and I bought my fiance, who was my fiance at that time, a 5-figure a gift, which was a diamond ring from just one JV deal. So it's pretty good. The deals that you do, there are opportunities to make lots of money from deals, which is really, really cool. Also, as I told you before, I launched a brand new business using JVs while I was living in Dubai. So a few years ago, I lived in Dubai for a couple of years. We moved to Dubai, and I got really, really bored. So I thought to myself, I want to set up a business here in Dubai, but I don't know Dubai for shit. I don't know how Dubai works, how the Middle East works, how the people work here, how the culture is, how the business culture is. So I managed to set up a publishing company while I was living in Dubai, which I built and then sold to a competitor for 6 figures. So this is exactly what I did and how I did it. So um, this is how we launched the business. It took us 30 days to launch it from concept idea to launch. So first of all, I carried out a survey on LinkedIn groups. I went to LinkedIn groups that were based in Dubai, and what we found was there was a gap in the market. Training and consulting industry is huge in the Middle East, but there was no training magazine. No one had a magazine on training. There were loads of magazines on HR, human resources, but no one had a magazine on training. And I was like, wow, I was quite shocked because in America they've got the training magazine, which is huge, which is big. They make a lot of money on the back of events and advertising. So I thought, okay, that's something that we should definitely launch. So we asked people on LinkedIn groups that, would you be interested in writing for the magazine? And we're not going to pay you, but we'll give you prominence in the magazine. So we secured 50 authors for expert content. So basically, we crowdfunded the content, and people were writing for the magazine for free. And it actually was a digital magazine. Then we partnered with corporate event organizers. We did a JV with them and said, look, we'll give you basically um, uh, um, awareness in the magazine. We'll promote you in the magazine. In exchange, we want access to your corporate events so we can promote the magazine at the events. And we'd like you to give the magazine away digitally to everyone who attends events. And then you've got thousands of people attending these corporate events, which are a couple of $1,000s to get in, which is quite cool. Then we launched the online B2B trade publication. It was an online business-to-business publication. We had a directory as well in there that we charged people to advertise on. We built a mailing list, and we were charging for mail shots also, which was really, really cool. We also secured sponsors and advertisers for issue 1 before we even launched, and we got paid 5 figures up front before even launching issue 1. And how we sold that magazine is that we partnered with one of our competitors in the space who had the biggest HR magazine in the Middle East, and we had the only training magazine in the Middle East. And again, we had such a good relationship with them that they now wanted the piece of the pie. They wanted all of the pie, not just the piece. So we ended up selling out to them, and we cashed out for 6 figures on that business, which cost us nothing. It cost us nothing to set that business up. So we made a killing on that, and that is what I've done several times. The last business I sold in 2017 for 8 figures was sold also again to a client that I worked with who was also a competitor in the space. So I'll talk more about that, but that's what I found so lucrative about teaming up and partnering with bigger companies, building a good relationship until they want 100% of the pie, and then they'll basically offer you out. So that's a really, really good formula that I've used time and time again. So also, as you know, doing joint ventures is very lucrative. As most of you know, in 2017, I sold my main joint venture consulting and training business for 8 figures. And that was in Las Vegas. I signed the deal. Now, what's quite interesting about that deal is that even though I signed a non-compete for 3 years, so basically I can't do any live boot camps for the next 3 years, I also sold the IP to all my training. They also have my corporate client list as well, my Fortune 100 and 500 clients. I handed that over to them as well, which is fine. But what I managed to do was I managed to negotiate a licensing deal where I have a license to my IP, which they now own, that I can use for the next 3 years to use however I want. But I've got to pay them a royalty every time I make money from it, and it's a tiny percentage royalty, which is fine because I still make the lion's share if I want to use it, any of that content, but that they own the IP now. Okay, let's look a little more about the joint venture mindset. So this is really important, right? And you've got to really understand this. It's all in your mindset, right? And you've got to have the right success mindset, because if you don't, that is where you're going to be stuck, because it's not only the confidence to be able to do deals and go out and do this. It's also the success mindset. Okay, so I visualize everything. If you can visualize the end of the goal, or the end of the deal, or the deal closing, or the deal coming together, or deals coming together, it's really, really strong. Okay, so visualization is really, really good, and you should practice this a lot. Also, affirmations are really good. Now, affirmations are interesting because um, a few years ago, I got invited by T. Harv Eker to one of his Millionaire Mind events, and I saw at first hand how they use affirmations in the room with a couple of hundred people. But you can see most people would never become successful because they wouldn't take action. So action without affirmation is the worst thing you could do. You've got to take action with an affirmation. Again, and also I've got to actually tell you, T. Harv Eker was one of the guys that really helped me put the deal together. for my business that I sold last year. So I'm very grateful to him. He also sold his training company, I think, for 8 figures. I think it was a couple of years ago. So basically, affirmations are really good. So if you're obviously if you're watching this now live, or if you're watching the recording, I want you to repeat after me. I'm the right person in the right place at the right time, doing the right things with the right people. Now this is very, very important, because what we do has to be aligned with the outcome we want. Okay. Another good affirmation is I'm aware of and open to unlimited joint venture opportunities. I'm involved in the best high level joint venture opportunities. So, one of the things you've got to do when you're doing JVs is always see yourself as someone adding value to others. Right? This is very, very important. I mean, we've covered a lot of things in this first module about different case studies, how joint ventures primarily work, and this is really just to give you an idea and get those get the juices flowing on how to create joint ventures and create momentum around joint ventures. Okay, because we're going to be covering a lot of stuff on this program, and I'm basically not going to hold anything back. I'm going to cover everything that you need to know to be able to do this successfully. And most of this, pretty much all of it, is not theory bullshit. Okay, it's tried and tested. It not only just with me, but with people in the group that have done it as well. So that's one of the things you always get from me. Good thing with this program also is it's going to be all the latest stuff, even stuff that I'm doing right now that's working, even a case study that I will be doing of a recent client that I acquired using another strategy. We'll also be covering that. So you'll always get the latest stuff. And also, if you have access to the private mastermind group, if you're on the live program, that's where I do a lot of updated training. So if you want to request some more training in that group, make sure you mention it, and I'll do it. If we need to bring in someone from the outside who I know, a third-party expert, to cover a certain topic where I may not have the expertise, then I'll also do that for you. But always do be proactive in the group. Let me know what you want, and we'll get that delivered for you in the group. Okay, so let's move on. Okay, so here's what we covered today. We covered the introduction to joint ventures. We covered the benefits of using joint ventures. Okay, we've covered the power of joint ventures. I've given you some real joint venture case studies to get your juices flowing. Talked about 6 and 7 figure joint ventures. We've also talked about the joint venture mindset, which is really, really important. And that's something that you really need to develop to be successful at this game. The mindset is something that's really going to help you get to that level where you're doing 7 and 8 figure deals, or even 7 and 8 figures in terms of joint ventures that you want to get involved in. So let's talk more about, before we go into Q&A, let's talk more about the recordings, the handouts, and slides, how this works. So here's what I need you to do. I need you to register for an account on milliondollarpartneringclub.com. If you go to milliondollarpartneringclub.com, there's an option for registering for free training. Okay, I need you to click on free training and register for free training with your account. That will actually get you an account on the system, okay, on the membership system. Then I need you to send me your username and email that you use to register your account on that website. And then once you've done that, I will send you an invite email for this program that you can get access to it online for the recordings and handouts and the slides. Okay, you get access to those. So once you've sent me your username and email, look out for an invite email from dojololearning.com. That's where the invite email will come. Also check your spam folder and just click on that invite email, and then I'll get you. Then you'll basically see the program added to your user account, which will be on that site. Then basically you click on the invite to add the JV Specialist program, and it'll be added onto your account. So register on milliondollarpartnerclub.com first, register for the free training, and all you need to do, just send me your username and email, and then I'll do the rest from then. I'll send you an invite for the program, for the course, and then you get access to it online. Also, if you haven't already and you want access to the private mastermind group, if you're on the live program, please add me on Facebook, which is facebook.com/the JV Guy. send me a message on Facebook also, and I'll add you to the Platinum Brokers and Consultants Mastermind group, where you get the 12 months of mentoring if you're on the live program. Okay. So week one assignment, I want you to watch the recordings of week one and write any ideas and questions you have about joint ventures. Okay, so I want you to post your comments in the private Facebook group. I'm going to be putting up a post tomorrow, or even actually tonight, called JV Specialist Program Week 1, where I'll post the assignment in terms of your assignment for week 1, and then just post your comments in that post. Okay, so every week we'll do that, and you'll see that pop up in the Facebook group, and we'll have a separate post for each week where you can put all your comments in there. Okay. Okay, brilliant. So if you've got any questions for me, guys, please put it in the chat box now. If you've got any questions on the back of week one's training, I know you probably might not have a lot of questions, but if you have questions, put them in the chat box. And also, if you have questions that you don't get a chance to put here, definitely put it in the Facebook group under the post week 1. Okay, so you can still put your questions in there, and myself and other brokers in the group can help answer them. Murray says, if I already have access to Dojo Learning, does that mean I'm all set? No, Murray, if you send me, all I need from you, Murray, is your username and your email for your account, and then I will send you an invite to the Certified JV Specialist program. I know you're already registered on the system, so that's fine. But everyone else, you need to register on the system, get your account set up, send me your username and your email, and I'll send you an invite to get you registered for the recordings, the handouts, and the slides as well. They'll all be up there in that membership area. So guys, let me know if you've got any questions for me, or even any feedback or any comments, what you thought about week 1, and also any ideas. Also, you can also put your comments in the Facebook group if there's anything else extra you want me to cover while we're doing the 8 weeks. That'll be your opportunity. If you want me to cover any particular areas, then we can do that. Tom says it's the same FB group, Platinum Brokers. Yes, it is. The Platinum Brokers and Consultants Mastermind group. That is basically the mentoring group for anyone on any of on my programs. So guys, I really hope you found week 1 useful and handy. And like I say, any ideas you have, definitely do put them in the group. And let me know if you want me to cover anything else extra also. But like I say, if you want to put any comments in the chat box right now, if you've got any questions for me, it's fine. If not, then we've got another 7 weeks, so just post your info. But there are already a lot of resources in the resource section of the website, and I'll be posting those on a regular basis. Okay, so the one good thing about this program is it's not a 3-day boot camp. Okay, so it's not you're in for 3 days and you're out. We're going to be doing this every week, and you'll have an opportunity to implement what you learn on a weekly basis as well, which I think is really good for this program, because it allows you to actually do things over the 8-week period and get you ready by being more interactive. And I think that's going to be really, really cool. So Tracy says, so after we sign up for the $1,000,000partnerclub.com, we are simply sending you our, yes, login details. I don't need your password, Tracy. I just need your username and email, and then from that I'll send you an invite for the recordings of this program, and you'll get another email where you just click on it and it'll be added to your portal. Tom says, are they all going to be at the same time? Yes, I think we're going to stick to this time. I may be doing a bit of traveling during the 8 weeks, but I think we should be fine because time zones should be okay. So we'll be doing some traveling, but we'll stick to the time zones, because if I've got to get up at whatever time to do this, I'm fine with that. I don't have an issue with that, because I am I'm jet lagged full time because I travel so much, so I'm so used to it, which is great, and that helps, I guess. So, guys, I hope you found week one module really cool. I'm gonna do the rendering for the recording, and I'll have the recording up tomorrow, okay, in the private membership area. So make sure you please get all your registrations done today and tomorrow, so I can give you access to that, and then we'll have week one up in there basically this week, so you can go through the recordings. So guys, I hope you found that useful. Again, thank you for being on the program. Really appreciate it. Go into the group, the Facebook group, and have a look around. Any of you guys who haven't got access to that, remember, add me on Facebook, okay, and send me a message, and I will add you to. I think Kevin, you're not in the group. Doug, you're not in the group. I need you guys to send me to add me on Facebook, and so I can add you to the group. I think everybody else is already in the group, and then have a look in there. It's got loads of resources. Type in mastermind call in the search box, and listen to some of the mastermind calls that we've had there since the group's been up and running. You really find it useful, and you'll pick up some more really cool things there. So guys, thank you very much wherever you are in the world. Have a great evening, afternoon, morning, and I will see you guys again next week, same time, same place, and we'll be covering going on to week 2, module 2. So take care, guys. Speak to you soon. Bye bye.